The sun hung low over the savannah, painting the tall grasses in shimmering gold. The air was warm, but a restless breeze carried the scent of distant rain and something more urgent. The Musk of Predators. It was 5.7 million years ago, a time when early hominins had only just begun their long evolutionary journey. They were not yet the masters of the world, but rather small bands of survivors scattered across the African landscape. The creatures who would one day build cities and sail oceans were still learning the most basic skill of all: staying alive. These early humans were not large, nor were they the strongest among the creatures of their time. A lone individual would stand little chance against the saber-toothed cats, giant hyenas, or packs of jackals that prowled the grasslands. Instead, their greatest asset was not muscle or claws, but the ability to think, communicate, and work together. In a world of relentless danger, unity was their shield. At dusk, the group moved as one, children clinging to their mothers' sides, while the older males and females carried sharpened sticks. These sticks were not yet spears in the modern sense. They were heavy branches stripped of bark and hardened over small fires. The fire itself was a precious discovery, not something they could make easily, but something they guarded fiercely when they had it. Fire brought warmth, light, and above all, fear to the beasts of the night. The camp was never permanent. The group learned to read the land, moving often to follow herds of grazing animals and to avoid areas where predator tracks were too fresh. They slept in the shelter of low cliffs and caves, or among the dense thickets of thorn bushes that scratched their skin but kept out prowling lions. A night watch was always assigned, 2 or 3 adults who would take turns staying awake, crouched by the glowing embers of the fire, listening to the darkness. Every rustle of grass, every distant cry of a hunting cat, every flutter of wings overhead was a signal that danger was near. During the day, safety meant vigilance. The group moved across the plains in loose formation, with scouts venturing ahead to scan for movement. These scouts were usually the fastest and most alert members of the band, chosen for their sharp eyes and quick legs. If they spotted trouble, the slinking form of a leopard, the circling of vultures above a kiln, they would signal with sharp clicks of the tongue or sudden arm gestures. The group would halt, crouch low, and decide whether to detour or prepare to defend themselves. Defending themselves was always a last resort. Direct confrontation with a predator was deadly, but sometimes unavoidable. When it came, they relied on intimidation rather than outright combat. They would spread out to appear larger, shout in unison, stamp their feet, and brandish their sticks. If they had stones, they hurled them with surprising force and accuracy. A single human was weak, but a united group could drive away even a determined predator, though not without risk. Scars and broken bones told stories of encounters that had come too close. As the seasons turned, the humans learned to recognize the signs of danger before it was upon them. The sudden silence of birds meant a predator was stalking nearby. The nervous stamping of antelopes on the horizon warned of a hidden lion. The smell of blood on the wind meant a fresh kill, and the likelihood of scavengers that would not hesitate to attack a human intruder. They learned the patterns of the great cats, the way they crouched before a pounce, the shadows they favored at dawn and dusk, the scent marks they left to claim territory. One of the most important skills they developed was choosing their ground wisely. An open plain gave them a clear view but left them exposed, while dense thickets provided cover but also concealed predators. The best ground was a mix, open enough to see threats, but with quick access to trees or rocks for refuge. Even without the ability to climb as swiftly as monkeys, they knew that a few meters off the ground could mean the difference between life and death. In time, they began to craft more effective tools. Sharp-edged stones served as both hunting implements and weapons for defense. Stone in hand could break bone, split hide, and turn a desperate stand into survival. They learned to keep these tools close at night, placing them within arm's reach in case a predator approached the camp. Every innovation, no matter how small, increased their chances of seeing another sunrise. The greatest shield, however, remained the bond between them. Solitary human was a target, but a band of humans was a force of nature. They shared food, warned of threats, and cared for the injured. When one was taken by a predator, the loss was felt by all, and the group grew more determined to protect the living. In this way, survival was not just an individual act, but a shared responsibility woven into every choice they made. One night, under a moonless sky, the distant roar of a saber-toothed cat echoed across the plain. The watchers stirred the fire to life, and the camp roused to readiness. Mothers drew their children close, and the adults gathered with their weapons. The sound grew nearer, accompanied by the low growl of a rival predator. Somewhere in the darkness, a hunt was underway, and the humans knew they were not the only ones listening. They tightened their circle, their eyes scanning the shifting shadows beyond the firelight. The danger passed that night, but the lesson remained. In the ancient world, survival was a constant negotiation between fear and courage, between caution and action. Every day was a test, every night a gamble. But through cooperation, adaptability, and a growing mastery of tools and fire, these early humans began to tip the balance in their favor. They did not yet know what the future held, that their descendants would walk the moon, build towers of glass and steel, and bend the world to their will. All they knew was the next dawn, the next hunt, the next night by the fire. In the relentless struggle against the beasts, they were learning the oldest truth of all. Survival belongs not to the strongest or the fiercest, but to those who can stand together, watch the darkness, and endure.